And now we're here at the beautiful Manchester by the Sea Public Library at 15 Union Street, right in downtown Manchester by the Sea. I am Corey Cooker with my co-host Heather Atwood. How are you, Heather?
I'm good, Corey.
This is great.
It's great, yeah. We had a little slushy drive here, but not too bad for February in Manchester.
Yeah, that's great.
Right?
Getting to know the neighborhood a bit too. I mean, I grew up right down the street of Magnolia, so I spent a lot of time here.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, but I love finding, well, first I haven't been in this building in a while until you and I visited a couple
Have you ever been in this building
yes,
before
I
that?
have.
Okay, that's good to know, yeah.
But it was great just to reconnect with everyone here, and we're going to learn a lot more about the library and Manchester at large, so I'm looking forward to it.
Well, I learned a little bit about this library just in the past couple of days because I was researching it, and we are shooting this episode on the day before Valentine's Day, and there's a love story here.
Is there?
Yeah, I'm going to try to tell it really quickly because hopefully we have a historian who will do it better.
We do.
But Charles McKim, who was the architect who built this house, he was married to Julia Appleton, the Appleton family of Appleton Farms. Okay, so we're sort of marrying Manchester. He was from Manchester and Ipswich, Appleton Farms. And she tragically died the year this building was dedicated. She was 27 years old. And there's an arch in the other room that he installed. It's 800 years old. It came from Brittany,
France.
I believe, Brittany, France. And he made sure there are 3 engravings on that arch that may, in fact, probably do reference his loss. Can I read these to you?
Please do.
Okay, because it's really quite beautiful. So, and not everyone would know this. So he, in Latin, on that arch, are the words, "Choose well, your choice is brief and endless." Now this could be the book you take out that day, or it might be a spouse.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
Or a partner. Also, he said, "To love a living wife is a pleasure, to love a dead one, a sacred obligation." And the third quote is, "There is not a breathing of the common wind that will forget thee." Isn't that lovely?
Beautiful.
I know. So this whole library is a Valentine to his wife.
And Heather, are you tearing up every show we do?
I do.
Yeah.
So sweet.
Well, let's learn
Right,
more
who's our
about
first
the
guest?
library and all the things going on here. So, yeah, please welcome our first guest, the Executive Director of the Public Library here in Manchester by the Sea, Miss Sarah Collins. How are you, Sarah?
I'm very good. It's lovely to have you here in the library today. We like to think the library is filled with love every day.
We agree wholeheartedly. It's a gorgeous building right off the top. And there are so many things you have going on here through different facets, the children's library, the teens section, et cetera, et cetera. Can you just give us a brief overview of all the things we have going on here?
Oh, sure. I mean, every month is filled with something for every age. We hope every age group will find something of interest and something that piques their curiosity. So in honor of Valentine's Day tomorrow, the children's room's kicking off the annual participation in the Bruins Pajama Drive. We have a box already starting to pick up new pajamas, and people will donate for a month. And as they offer these in, we'll see that build, and we know these will go to kids in need. To kick it off tomorrow, we have something special. We're having a hot chocolate buffet. So if you stop in, there'll be hot chocolate and lots of mix-ins, really fun things.
Is this not the sweetest library?
Yeah,
Right?
it's going to be a great thing. We all love being here and finding things that, just are the things that we love, whether you love mysteries or new books, or you love nonfiction, or you want to know what's going on in the world. The library is the place to find out. Newspapers, magazines, and your neighbor, who maybe you haven't seen in a while, is here. There's someone to say hello to. There's somebody to greet you across the desk. It's a big community organization, and it has an impact on everyone in this community.
So you've been here for over 25 years, is that right?
I have. I've been here 32 years in April.
And so let's jump back quickly to who you are and how you came to being a librarian and how you came to Manchester.
I'm someone who has absolutely loved the effect that books have on lives, and books have been an integral part of my life forever. As a child being read to, and then someone who loves writing, as an English lit major, as a grad student in library school at Simmons in Boston.
My alma mater, too.
Oh, excellent. And as someone who worked in our college library and started a library in a small preschool in Arlington when I first got out of college, it's something that I think libraries can touch every single part of a community, and they've certainly touched me. I just feel they're very important. And I became the children's librarian here 32 years ago, and I was in that position for 27 years, and then I've been the director almost 5.
That's
Amazing.
wonderful, yeah.
Yeah.
So what makes a great day for a librarian in the Manchester Public Library?
A great day is a day that includes the public using the building, the public coming in and finding what they need, whether it be at the computers, whether they're checking out music CDs or movies or a museum pass to get into the city and add some cultural experiences to their family, or they're taking some of the newest fiction. They're getting large print because they're at the point where that would be a really wonderful resource. It's certainly better on the eyes for many of us. And maybe they're a teen doing homework in the teen loft.
You have a new teen loft.
We have a new
right?
teen loft
Tell us
that
about
is
that.
just going to be a year old in April, and that's after years of advocating for teenagers and kind of noticing which things were appealing to them, realizing their numbers in the library were increasing thanks to a wonderful young adult librarian and a staff that was supportive of a part of the population that's often underserved.
Yeah, and I think since I did all that research on the building itself, and there's so much historical relevance here, I just love that sort of, whiff of freshness and there's a teen library or teen
Right.
area now for them to come and the next generation to come and enjoy it.
It's terrific, and there's a lot of kids that come in here and use the library, and it's not just for homework. They too need to see a friendly face. They need to know they're also welcome in community buildings. And there's a teen advisory board that is very active. We have 16 members this year, and that's really terrific.
That is.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
So what are they advising on? They're advising to the library? Their
They're
needs?
advising to the library. They plan the programs that are for teenagers in the building with the guidance of the young adult librarian. They also have an impact on the collection development, on the books that are added, in the music, and the movies in their section. Sometimes just by noticing trends and saying, this is a popular author, or we're studying these things in school, or, oh my gosh, have you seen this particular series of books? We have to have these. Everybody loves these.
That is really cool right from the source, right? That's great.
It's great. And that word of mouth then can spread with their age group.
Yeah. Now, so what are some of the other programs you have going on here?
I know you have Manchester Reads, right?
Oh, Manchester Reads is a wonderful annual thing that happens with a different theme selected every year. There's a primary book, and this year we're sticking with the environment and the outdoors. And the title is The Outdoor Citizen: Get Out, Give Back, Get Active. This is by John Judge. He's the president and CEO of the Appalachian Mountain Club, and he is a local. And he's going to be coming and speaking at the library on Thursday, March 5th. This book really advocates that kind of connection with the outdoors, with being in your outdoor spaces, and realizes that has an impact on how we view the world and how we interact with the world by our activity levels. We don't want the adults to be the only ones that are involved, though.
Right.
So we have things for children and teens that will connect. The children are going to use Wish Tree by Catherine Applegate. That's going to be in a parent-child book group.
Show that to David, yeah.
And then there will be science and craft activities based on Can You Hear the Trees? And the teens will never be left out in this community. So they're going to be reading Greta Thunberg's No One Is Too Small to Make a Difference. And they're going to be reading fiction that's based on droughts, and it's called Dry by Schusterman. And it's kind of a thriller, kind of an ecological thriller. So lots of great activities
Interesting.
that will tie along. I know you've heard we often work with other organizations, so we're working with the Open Spaces and Rec Group. And
We're speaking to Mike Chapman shortly about that.
excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. Yeah, there's a walk that's going to happen on Powder House Hill that will follow the Vernal Pond people being here for a program. And there will be many other events that are going to tie in with this. I'm just looking and thinking, oh yeah, Elders Climate Action. There's going to be a climate change conversation, and more will be on our website, of course.
So they spend the next month reading the book, and then the series of activities will happen into the spring, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And those activities will all take place in March. So it will really be a month of March filled with the Manchester Reads theme books and the activities that tie in.
And how much participation have you had in the past in Manchester Reads?
We have quite a lot of participation. There will be dozens of the adult books and many of the children's and the teens as well. And we will probably have several dozen people reading and attending the various programs. They vary. They might be some programs that are a book group with 10 and others that are 50 people participating in a larger format program.
Nice.
So for those in the area who haven't poked their heads into the library, or for outside who are
Yes.
learning about this place for the first time, what do you want them to know?
I want them to know that this is their library. We're here to pique your interest, to help you make that connection between people in the community, materials that are your materials. There is nothing that you might say, I'm interested in, that we could not find a book about. So the wonderful thing about a library is no matter what's on your mind that day, there's something here for you. There are people that will talk to you and help you find it. If we don't have it on the shelf, we can borrow millions of objects from other libraries. We're borrowing books and magazines and all kinds of things every single day and sharing them back and forth. So it's just a place of lifelong curiosity and education and cultural learning.
I want to bring up one
Sure.
event that I know
Sure.
is happening this Saturday.
Oh, yes.
Do you want to talk about that?
Yes, that would be great. The 375th is very important in the community, and I know you'll be chatting more about the celebration in town. But in our library, we're going to really talk about sharing the memories of Manchester and crafting those into stories and sharing them so we can preserve what are wonderful parts of the community. We have a storyteller, Elisa Pearman, coming in on the 18th of February, which is Tuesday at 2 p.m. And then after she helps people work through how to take those snippets of a memory that you think, oh, it's not much of a story. You know, I'm not an expert on this, but really those wonderful little snippets about your uncle, your neighbor, or the fun things you did at the candy store growing up, those craft into wonderful stories that can be handed down. So she'll work with us, we'll have some refreshments, and then we'll share them with a larger community on the Saturday following. So we invite people to attend, whether to craft stories and or to hear stories, to those two events, the 18th and 22nd, both at 2 p.m. here.
Okay, I was wrong. I said this Saturday. But
It's the one following.
Okay, so
Yes,
it's
it is.
the initial workshop is Tuesday?
Yes, the 18th.
And this is all, what I love about this, it's telling. There is no
Yes.
written component,
No.
right? It's
No.
learning how to tell a story, which is an
Right.
art form unto itself.
It is an art form,
Yeah.
and everyone's story is interesting and important, but you think, oh, I'm not an expert. Or I had someone say, I've only lived here 50 years. And you think, oh, well, you have lots of stories to share, but someone who's lived here 10 years has stories as well.
Absolutely.
And children that are 20, I know, had different experiences than children that are 10.
Right.
So
right.
we each have things to share, but those stories are also lost if you don't share them.
I think that's a great workshop.
Well
Just
said.
one of the many, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Sarah, if people want to learn more about the library or get involved somehow, how can they do that?
They can go onto our website, www.manchesterpl.org, and see what we're up to. You can see the events. You can look and see any material that you might want. Any book, anything is available there and request it. You can do your museum pass requesting there.
Jacob Lawrence at the Peabody Essex, you've got passes to
Oh
that,
my
right?
gosh, we have passes to so many wonderful museums thanks to the Friends of the Library. And the Peabody Essex made available those bookmark passes for libraries. So
really great.
there are multiple free passes for the Peabody Essex. That is just to honor the work that libraries have had in the past with the Peabody Essex. And also Jacob Lawrence researched in the New York Public Libraries for 10 years before starting that series of 30 paintings. So part of the exhibit honors libraries as well.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So there are plenty of those. That's the point,
Plenty.
right?
There's a
Yeah.
big stack of the bookmarks to just freely take one, and you can use it anytime
Oh, that's
throughout
wonderful.
the time of that exhibit.
Very cool. Sarah, it's been great getting to chat with you this week and this morning. And what's so apparent to me is your enthusiasm has not waned over 32 years of being here at the library.
No, it hasn't, because every day is new at the library, and literally there are hundreds of new books here every week.
What are you
And-
reading right now?
What am I reading right
Yeah.
now? I'm reading American Dirt because I'm going to decide for myself what I think about the controversy.
Okay, we won't get into that, but I know there's a controversy.
At least she's reading. She's reading.
Yeah, exactly, right.
It's like, think for yourself. That's part of the library.
Exactly.
Well, thank you. Well, Sarah Collins, Executive Director at the Manchester by the Sea Public Library. Thanks so much for your time today and for being such a gracious host.
Yeah,
as
for
well.
having
you
us here.
very much
It's
for
beautiful.
coming.
All right,
Yeah.
we'll talk to you
Great to
soon.
have
Have
you.
us back.
All right,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Thank you, Sarah.
And we'll talk about American Dirt. So who's next? Who do we have next?
Well, I think Erica's going to be next.
Oh, the Manchester Cricket.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So much to talk about there.
Yeah, there's a lot going on
Yeah.
in this community too. And just to go back to Sarah for a second, it's been really cool just getting familiar again with the library because the space is beautiful. It's nice and cozy in here. Every room.
It's beautiful,
and
yeah.
It's in the gorgeous architecture, et cetera, and the history is awesome too. We get to touch on all these things today, which I'm really excited about.
There's some really important pieces of artwork in this building also that we have not talked about, but we will later, I think. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, our next guest is
Erica
the
Brown.
publisher and editor from the Manchester Cricket. Miss Erica Brown. How are you, Erica?
Hey there, how are
Thanks
you?
for joining us.
You have a little crown over your head because there are not many people running small newspapers in this country anymore. So, or a hero, a badge of being a hero, something like that.
Yeah.
So
It's true.
thank
Well,
you.
I'm lucky. We're lucky we live in a good market, a great
Yeah.
market that supports papers. But the truth is that newspapers are really having a hard time nationally right now. I think a study came out late last year that 20%, I think, no, 1 in 5 newspapers has gone out of business locally since 2004.
Wow.
It's a real problem.
Wow.
It's
And
really
that was when the internet really started to just shove things out, right? You think?
Yeah, I think digital is the reason why,
Yeah.
for sure. But really, the problem is not being able to kind of adapt with the way in which people have changed in how they get information and what they consider timely information and what kind of information they want when.
And literally, I was just going to ask, so how is the cricket adapting to this new world?
Well, the paper is 132 years old. It's so funny. Sarah says in April, 32 years. Well, in April will be 132 years. So the paper, I took over the paper a year ago last November.
So you're the publisher
I'm
and
the
the
publisher
editor.
and the editor. That's exactly right.
Okay.
Probably more editor in practice than publisher, to be honest with you, because I'm kind of chief cook and bottle washer. I do everything. We have a great staff, a fantastic staff, but I find myself sort of backfilling a lot of things. I'll go to a lot of evening meetings and I'll cover those. I'll throw a camera in my hand and do anything. But what we have done is we have launched pretty much the first comprehensive website for the paper. We did that last July. We just won an award for it, so it's going going well.
Yeah, let's talk about that
looks
just very
great.
quickly. The New England, you say the award, 3
It's
awards.
Yeah. Well, we were really happy about it. We just won last week. On Saturday night in Boston, we got it. The New England Newspaper and Press Association of America gave us
Cheers to
the
that.
award. We won 3 awards for best front page design, which included stories about the Manchester Historical Museum and a veterans thing. It was a 4th of July story, and then it also had a great story on Alprilla Farms in Essex, next door, which we also service. That was best front page design, best photo series, and that was for the Essex Bicentennial rededication of the ancient burial
Right,
grounds
very cool,
last
yeah.
year. And then the last one that we won was best website.
That is amazing.
Yeah,
So
and best website, by the way, we were third place, which, believe me, I'll take that any day
Yeah,
of the
bronze
week.
is pretty.
But exactly. But second was the Vineyard Gazette, which is a paper that I just adore.
love the Vineyard
Yeah,
Gazette.
exactly. So to us, we took that
That-
as a
Lofty
big,
company.
Yeah.
We've come a long way, which is fantastic.
That's wonderful. Are they online, the Vineyard Gazette?
Oh yeah, they're
Oh,
online.
okay. I guess
yeah.
everyone
Although you
is.
think of them as that big, gorgeous,
I love that.
sumptuous
Broadsheet.
floppy
It's-
paper.
Yeah.
What's your prognosis for small newspapers, Erica, moving forward?
I think, honestly, we were talking about this earlier, and first of all, you have to be in a really good market, and we're in a great market. We're in an enthusiastic market that loves the paper. There's a lot of local pride. People understand and love the paper and have supported it for years.
It's a literate community.
It's a
too.
literate
Yeah.
community. They also really understand when people are participating in the community. My predecessor, the Slade family, they owned the paper for over 100 years. So it was really I'm only the 6th editor in the paper's history.
Isn't that amazing?
So that kind of
incredible.
stability that the community loves, you have to have that. What's the prognosis, which is what you
You
asked.
just locked yourself in, by the way, for a long
Yeah, exactly. I know. But the prognosis was really bad. Probably, ironically, these numbers are just coming out now. But
The 2004 numbers, what was
the
happening
2004
there?
numbers, and that
a
actually
lot.
came out just last year, and it kind of triggered this, oh my God moment for everybody about what's going on with the state of papers. Well, really, it's been going on for a really long time. It was probably at its worst 3 years ago, 2 years ago. Last year, it's even bad. But things have changed. First of all, there is big trends in local newspapers of collaborations. So newspapers are really being creative about collaborating with each other on enterprise stories that are really important, like, the future of fishing, mining, things like that, prison system, prison reform, education, et cetera.
Opioid issues.
So they're coming together and working, and they're being funded to work together by grants. So grants and nonprofits and philanthropies are coming to the table with a lot of money to kind of fill the gaps for papers that need it.
Really interesting.
And that's a really interesting
So
kind
they
of
can-
trend. And then another thing that happened, it was in the New York Times like 2 weeks ago. I mean, this really shows you it's gotten bad. Mitch McConnell is sort of finally, he's sort of championing a bill that's a bipartisan bill that would actually level the playing field for local newspapers. And you know why? Because senators are finally feeling it when they go home, that the local newspaper is not there to cover them.
Right,
So
right. They
it's
get
finally
out.
hurting them, so they're finally caring.
Interesting. That's really interesting
Yeah.
because they passed some, or they didn't pass legislation. Something about the FCC when Trump first came to office, allowing. Yeah, right. We don't need to go into that.
We don't.
But yeah,
Well, it's real curious times because in this day and age of social media and instant gratification, and you can find breaking news on Twitter before a major news station can actually
That's
break
right.
it. I think there's just a thirst for actual journalists
Yeah.
creating actual news or reporting actual news and not reporters, which the world is used to. I'm a guy who makes a living running around with my iPhone and going live.
And you should.
I'll relay what someone's telling me, but I'm not going to report on it. And that is a reporter's job, someone who can actually dig into a story and find facts and disseminate facts and figures and all that.
I mean, I think the answer, honestly, is going to be everybody needs to know their place and what their lane is. And the truth is, a weekly newspaper should not be trying to slug it out on social media. It doesn't mean we don't have social media, but I understand what belongs on social media, what belongs on the web, because we have a really important, vibrant web product, and then what is the sort of more thoughtful, contemplative piece that might be in the weekly physical paper. And honestly, I tell people all the time, if I think of my product for the paper is not the news as much as it is a sense of belonging. People pick up that paper and there's something that happens in them that makes them happy that they are where they are, they live where they are, that this is my community. And that's really what any local paper is. And because the truth is, I don't know this isn't a statistic, but I'd be willing to guess that 95% of the United States of America, you live where you live because you want to live there. You're not forced to live there, and that's your community and you want to be able to feel like it's your community. And that's the role that the newspaper has or the library.
right.
Well said.
But there are some really important municipal stories that are not getting told well, and I see that happening in the cricket.
You're hitting on the crisis, and the crisis really is, because this is the truth. The crisis is, if they say leadership, you ever hear the term leadership starts at the top? Okay, corruption starts at the bottom.
Right.
Corruption starts in the little bits, the little things that go up. Now, in most communities that are educated or informed and where you have strong participation, you have less of something. Like here we have volunteer government, we have people who are doing this and they're talented people giving of their time for the community. In many communities in the United States, it's not as much like that, and the role of the newspaper in those communities is critical.
Nobody's watching.
And guess what?
Yeah.
In our community, it's actually, the service I provide is, I go to a meeting, I cover it. I go to the Essex Planning Board meeting, which is where I'm going tonight, and I'm going to learn a lot, and in the next couple of weeks, our readership will learn about what's going on there while they're at work, while they're home bathing their children at night.
Yeah.
They don't have to go to the planning board meeting.
Yeah.
I'm there for them.
Right.
Well, it's amazing because we're adjusting too. With we've been at Channel 12 for
Yes.
35 plus years, and the public access station and the PEG network and all that. And we made a point to now all of our programming has to be on social media. This is actually broadcasting live on Channel 12 and on Facebook on multiple pages, because that's just where the eyeballs are, and we need to make ourselves as accessible as possible. And also, it's in high def too, which people don't get that on
Ouch.
Channel 12, and that's big cable doing that on purpose. That's a whole other thing to get into.
No,
But it's
I
weird
know
seeing
what
how
you're saying.
we're living these parallel lives, and we just want to get information to people. And the $1 million question is, what's the most modern and efficient way to do that?
I think 1623 has really sort of kind of gone into the future in a really interesting way. I think that even things like the moving of your studio to where it is in the middle of the community, like literally catty corner from City Hall,
Yeah.
where you can see it, is a very important statement, and it's a really important innovation that's just as important as social media and programming and the way you distribute your content.
So will you be a guest again? We need you as a regular.
Sure,
We
as
need
long
to-
as you guys are doing it.
We have big plans for you, Erica.
Yeah, we
actually.
do,
We need
right.
to stay tuned because
Yeah.
we want to be working with you a lot more closely moving
Well,
forward.
you guys are great to work with. I appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate your time. What's next
Yeah.
with the cricket? Is there anything big? Any big scoops
I'm
to
just
share?
covering. No,
She
no,
just
no.
won the
I'm
award. She's like popping the champagne.
Yeah, what's next?
No, I'll be going. Honestly, I think the next thing, I mean, I'm sure that you're going to be speaking about it, but the next big thing is the 375th programming, especially for next week, and the Historical
Next
Museum is going to
guest.
be fantastic.
Yeah.
There's
your
exciting.
segue.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All righty. thanks.
Erica Brown from the Manchester Cricket. Thanks, Erica.
Thanks,
We'll talk to you
Georgie.
soon.
See you
Okay,
soon.
thanks.
Bye-bye. Oh, that was awesome.
Well, it's
I love
just
talking
so
with Erica.
exciting to see a small town newspaper come to life again, right?
Yeah.
And not have it be yet another sad story in
Well,
journalism.
people care around here too.
do.
Obviously, yeah. Maybe we're a little different from other places, but it's a destination place. There's tons of history. There's tons of culture. There's tons of events going on. But who gets to tell the greater story as well? Or like Erica was referring to, those small tendrils at a municipal level where
Right.
that need to be reported and relayed to the community.
Yeah.
It's pretty fascinating.
It really is. It really is. So, who do we have next?
Well, next is we're going to learn a little bit about Manchester's it's their 375th anniversary this year.
I know that, yeah. A little younger than Gloucester.
Yeah, and he is. Are you spearheading this committee, Tom?
Co-chairing the
You're
committee,
co-chairing
yes.
of the Manchester by the Seas 375th
Correct.
committee is Mr. Tom Kehoe. Welcome back, Tom.
Thank you. Great to be here, and it was nice to be with you down at the 1623 studios a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I know it's a nice space.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, thanks so much. Okay, so for those who don't know, can you just kind of give a little background info on what the 375th is all about and what you have planned for us?
So we've had a committee of people that has been constantly growing. We met our first committee meeting more than a year ago, and then we've started to plan our activities, get funding for them, spending time organizing them and getting different subcommittees working on them. So we've had 2 events at this so far. We've had a great Christmas tree bonfire, which was delayed a couple times because of the
worth the wait.
weather, and then came in real nice, and we had a family fun day. And I think, as Sarah already mentioned, we're going to have a couple of storytelling workshops here in the library. So we have activities happening for families, for adults. We have activities based looking towards senior citizens, like a high tea coming up at the Shark's Mouth Estate. So we have a year-long set of activities numbering 25.
That's
So,
impressive.
I was kind of curious, Tom, and thanks for being here.
Thank you.
How much is this celebration looking back, and how much is it looking forward into Manchester's next?
Well, there's a certain amount of history. They have I know you're going to talk to Beth Wellen later today, and from the Historical Museum. The Historical Museum is putting on 7 lectures this year, which are based all on Manchester and the past. Everything from the Indian settlers in Manchester to a course she calls Manchester 101, which is Manchester for beginners, I guess, in terms of what it's all about. And then they'll talk about the maritime history of Manchester, talk about slavery here on Cape Ann. So that's kind of the past. And then the present and the future, I guess everything is really kind of in the present, but we're also giving people an opportunity to go to places where a lot of people in town haven't been. We have We have a great high tea scheduled in May, which is at the Shark's Mouth Estate. Which
Where
I
is the
think
Shark's Mouth
The
Estate?
Shark's Mouth Estate is between here and Magnolia, right on the ocean. It is the summer home of the Curtis sisters, who were great golfers and championship golfers. In fact, the Curtis Cup is given out every 4 years for the amateur golfers of the United States playing against the amateur golfers of Europe. And they had that here at Essex just about 5 years ago. So the Shark's Mouth Estate has been so good to open themselves up for us to have a high tea there. We are having a big fundraiser in a little less than a month over at Essex County Club, which is going to be a cocktail party and a silent auction with some live auction items thrown in. But there's a mix of little activities and major activities. We're kind of all focused towards the middle of the year. On June 18th, we're going to have the town birthday party. June 18th is actually the 375th anniversary of the signing of the proclamation that took us away from Salem and formed Manchester. So
We don't have to be here for that one.
So we have,
Yeah,
we're going to have
exactly.
that as a concert.
Have you ordered that cake yet?
It's a big one. It's a big one. Yeah, so we're going to have a panoramic picture taken first down at Masconomo Park, then a concert by N Train, and then we've invited the governor, our senator, our representative to come. And during that time, the kids from the families will have a chance to make little floating birthday wishes for the town, and then turn on the candle and put them all around the bandstand. We'll have the end of the band concert, so it'll be a good 3-hour event for families. So that's going to be a real thing that we kind of aim towards, and it's right at the end of school. So I think the kids will love to come there. Number one, they're going to have music. Number two, they're going to be able to make little birthday wishes. And number three, they'll have cake and ice cream.
Yeah, Captain Dusty's right across the street too, if need be. Yeah, that's perfect.
If they're run low on ice cream, Captain Dusty's right across the street. So
This is a year's worth of events, Tom. Explain a bit about the volunteer effort. How many of you working with? And
well, what happens is that some of the smaller events are just done with people on the committee, and it could be 2 or 3 or 4 people on the 375th anniversary committee. Some of the larger events, like the gala at Essex, there's 3 people from the committee, and they've gathered 6 or 7 of their friends to work with them. So
This is the fundraising gala.
Yeah, in most cities and towns, there are an awful lot of people who are volunteers, and without those volunteers, some of these efforts would fall flat, and we don't want that to happen.
right.
Well, how about, so you mentioned the Essex Country Club Gala as a fundraising event. Are there any other fundraising events coming up?
We have sent out a fundraising request to residents, and we've been very happy with the response that we've had. We've also sent a different fundraising event, a letter out to different businesses in town. We're still working some of those prospects, but our main goal is by getting this money and having the fundraising event at Essex, that all the events will either be at low cost or no cost to everybody. Because we have certain people who in groups have stepped forward and said, yeah, I'll sponsor that, or I'll take care of the cost for this for you. So it's been very overwhelming in terms of the response that we've had. We still can use a little bit more funding. You never know how much everything is going to cost, but
That cake.
yeah, well, that's a huge cake.
Yeah, exactly. I'm worried about it
Well,
already.
I'm worried more about the cost of the ice cream.
Yeah, well, that's probably true. That's true.
Tom, so
right.
if people do want to help, how can they do that?
Well, they can get in touch with Town Hall. They can drop a donation to the 375th Anniversary Committee at 10 Central Street, or just drop it into Town Hall. They can get in touch with me or Sue Thorne, who are the co-chairs, and we'll be glad to see if we can talk to them about donations. This is a case where it takes a village.
Now, why did you take this on? What's your love for, where does your love for Manchester come from?
People always say to me, have you lived here your whole life? And I say, not yet.
I like that.
Good. Yeah.
I moved in when I was 3 days old, something with my
Pretty
parents
close.
in some way.
Out of town there.
Yeah, born at Beverly Hospital.
Right. Oh.
But I've been involved in the town, doing things through the fire department, the board of selectmen, different committees, the Boy Scouts. So I've been involved in the town, and I got off the board of selectmen and stepped down from doing that. And then people said, "Oh, you'll never come back and do anything for the town." And 7 months later, I was appointed to the 375th anniversary committee. So I want people to have an appreciation of the town and how special it is to live here and how special the people are here. And I'd like to engender that kind of love for the town in everybody who comes to the events.
Well, we appreciate all the work that you're doing, Tom, and we're really looking forward to the entire year celebration here. Have there been any murmurings about a 400th anniversary yet?
The co-chair and I are trying to survive the 375th at this point, although we did look at Essex's 200th last year, Wenham's 375th a couple years ago, and I know I'm going to have a lot of interest in reading what happens in Gloucester for their 400th,
Right.
which would really be very special. I see they have the judging for the medals and everything like that
Still going
getting
right.
ready to go on, and that's one of their main fundraising things. We did do a logo with the students at the Manchester Essex Regional High School, and that's where our logo came from. So it's been very nice, and that relationship worked out really well for us.
Well, cheers to you and this
Yeah,
community-wide
get that
effort.
subcommittee going.
Yeah, we will. We will. The ice cream subcommittee.
Right,
or the
exactly.
cake
Same
sub-
two
But
slices of cake
400.
here?
Yeah, right. Save us cake.
We will definitely have a special bowl of cake and ice cream for
Thank
each.
you.
of
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll talk to you soon, Tom. Thanks
Thank
again
you.
for joining
Thank you.
us.
Great.
Yeah.
Glad to visit.
Thanks
Okay.
for all your
Tom
good work.
Kehoe from
Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye.
you from the 375th Anniversary Committee here in Manchester by the Sea. Manchester or Manchester by the Sea. You never, it just depends who you ask.
True. We haven't
Yeah.
even got into that.
Yeah.
Do we need to?
We might have to take in an informal poll
Right,
online
exactly.
too.
Yeah,
I
let's
do
do
call
that.
it Manchester by the Sea, but growing up, I mean, it was Manchester for crying out loud. You know,
When I Google it, I do by the sea because
Yeah.
I know I'll end up with Manchester, England,
That's what the
and New
movie
Hampshire.
was, too.
I know.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
well, it's time for our musical interlude.
I love this
for the
part.
afternoon. Yeah. So joining us here is Chris Lingathianos and Joe Wilkins. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
It's good seeing you.
Thanks for having
I
us.
feel like Chris, I
guys.
see you like 4 or 5 days a week now.
That's
It's-
right.
It's coming to that
we
point.
went a long period of time
Yeah.
not seeing each other, and here we are.
And we like we bar hop via osmosis or something. Where I was kind of finding our spots around town.
Elliot.
Well, thanks for joining us. So I want to get to learn a little bit about your backgrounds as well, and how you started collaborating with each other.
Yes, that's a good question. Let's see.
Actually, it started years ago at Giuseppe's. So I was supposed
that's
to do,
really?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah?
So I was supposed to play a gig with some other people, and somebody needed to have surgery, so that was not going to happen. So then I asked Joe, "Hey, can you fill in? Can we do this together?" And we did. And we liked the way it went, and it's kind of gone from there, I guess.
Yeah, we still like the way
that
it's
was,
going.
That was probably about 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so do you guys just bounce around like gigs to gigs every now and then, festivals? You know, what are you guys up to normally? Like how are you? Where are you working together, and how often?
Go ahead, Joe.
Well, we've done a couple nights across the street here at the Antique Table, right here in town. And what else? We play in Gloucester.
I've heard you play at the Old Sloop.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did the Old Sloop Coffee House in Rockport.
Yeah.
It's been a while. We're due for one of those, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That was a
we're-
couple years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And then we're doing in a couple, actually tomorrow night with our full band. We're playing at the Music Hall in Portsmouth.
Oh, nice.
Which
Oh,
is
nice.
is a bigger venue, so that'll be fun. That's part of a bigger comedy event with comedians from all over the country come in, and so we're going to be the house band for that. And then on August 30th, we're playing with Chelsea Berry at the Shaolin
Oh, cool.
Oh,
Very cool.
great.
May 30th.
May 30th. What did I say? August?
You said August.
Yeah, May.
Well, and what about
I'm the
your
brains and
what about your individual backgrounds and the love of music? Where did that begin? You know, because I really don't know much about either of you and where you grew up and how this all sort of came to be.
You want to go first?
No, you go ahead, Joe.
Well, I started playing drums when I was like 13 or 14, and I picked up the guitar a couple years later, and I was playing in bands in high school and stuff, and then I just kind of kept doing it. But it really kicked into high gear when I moved back to Gloucester, maybe about 10 years ago. And I decided that hey, this is great. I'm going to do a lot more of this. Like, I just really enjoyed it. So I've been playing a lot since then.
Nice.
Yeah.
Chris?
And then for me, when I was a kid, I used to do a lot of musical theater and chorus type stuff. And then when I got to high school and college, I wanted to be more of the athlete guy. So I kind of got away from that for many years. And then it wasn't until maybe 11 years
You wanted
ago.
to stuff the kid in the locker.
That's right. I didn't want to do that, but and I really kind of just came back to it probably about 11 years or so ago. Yeah.
And you're still very athletic.
Yes, very.
The one-arm push-ups just on the back.
I'm the sporty one of the duo.
Yeah, sporty spice.
Well, we're really happy that you guys are here to perform a couple songs for us today. So if you want to tell us about what this first song's about, we'll take it away.
Sure.
Yeah, this song is called "Your Town Is Gonna Change." It's a working title, and it's just about changes that happen in towns with the economy and living, and so yeah, we're gonna play it for you.
There you have it, folks. Joe Wilkins and Chris Lingathianos.
They burned that old schoolhouse down, and people came from miles around, eyes on the flame. Your town is gonna change. Another mansion on the hill, but on our street, people fight to get their fill in minimum wage. Your town is gonna change. Underneath a different sky, now I can't remember why we came here anyway. Everything that we loved, they took it away. Now I don't recognize a thing about this place. Fishing boats out of the water, they took out the pier and hauled it away. No fish today. Your town is gonna change. Once upon another time, living every word to copper line, these streets don't look the same. Your town is gonna change. Underneath a different sky, now I can't remember why we came here anyway. Everything that we loved, they took it away. Now I don't recognize a thing about this place. But there's a new mill in town. It's the only work Your town is gonna change. Your town has gotta change.
Beautiful work, guys. That was awesome.
Thank you.
You guys did that at the old sloop, didn't you? 'Cause
We
I-
did,
I-
yeah, we did.
I-
It's evolved and changed. In fact, it changed
This song
last
is
night
gonna
and this
change.
morning.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a work in progress. So, yeah.
It's really beautiful.
Thank
and
you.
Hey, if
so
people want to get in
sad.
touch with you or book you, how can they do that?
Well, actually, people have been asking us that for years, and we always evade them.
We're really mysterious.
But we actually have a Facebook page now, and it's Chris and Joe, Chris plus Joe. You can find us there and reach out and book us that way.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right.
Well, that was great. I loved
you.
hearing
Beautiful.
it. Can't wait to hear you guys again in a little
Thank you.
bit. Thanks so much, Kristen Gathianos and Joe Wilkins. All right, we'll yell over to you guys in a
All
little
right,
bit, all right?
thanks for having us.
Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Woo.
Yeah, I
The musical
almost
component
cried.
is so
Almost
cool on
cried.
the show. Guys,
It was close, but I held it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
It was beautiful. Just, and I remember as soon as they began to play that song, I thought, oh, I remember this one.
Yeah,
really
we used to
nice.
have them with the bridge at our Strawberry Festival too, at Mile Marker. And the summers are awesome. But I've seen Joe does like the Magnolia Farmers Market, and I see him all over the place. And I literally do see Chris like 4 times a week.
Yeah. Oh.
Anywhere. just
Well,
in
we
London,
bumped
he's like-
into him
He's that guy. That's just
Calais.
There he is again.
Yeah.
He's- so, all right, are
Yeah.
you ready for our next guest?
I am.
This is going to be really cool. We've talked with Beth Wellen before. Come on in, Beth. She's from the Manchester Historical Museum right across the street.
Yes.
It's good to see you
I
again.
didn't even have to put my coat on.
No,
I was ready for us.
yeah, thanks for joining us. So, well, do you want to just, for those who don't know about the Historical Museum, just give us a little A to Z on that?
Okay, the Historical Museum is in the 1823 historic Trask House. It was Abigail Trask's house. Originally it was half the size, and she ran her own little store. And then she got married, and as their wealth grew, she doubled the size of the house, so it became a mansion. We will be celebrating its 200th birthday in just a couple of years, in 23. So we're just had some renovations done in one of the rooms we're making it look as best as we possibly can.
Nice.
Does it
And
reflect her home, the way
it
she
does
lived?
reflect the time period that she lived in. The outside is the early 1800s. It's very much federal, but the inside is mostly Victorian, which would have been the later period when she had the addition and when she put in beautiful curved staircase and did other things. Most everything in there is from the town, though. We do have pieces that belong to the Trask family, but everything in there technically is supposed to have a connection to Manchester. You know, from a Manchester family, used by a Manchester family, and it all helps tell the whole story of Manchester.
Very cool.
So, especially the furniture, because we had a lot of furniture makers here in town.
Oh, right. So
Right.
it's Manchester's bread and butter for a long time,
It was,
right?
yes.
Right.
So now, what about this building in particular?
Okay,
Beth,
you
the
asked
history
me,
here?
so
Yeah, really,
I
because
brought
it's
some
fascinating.
pictures. Okay, so
And
so
I can
now,
actually
can I
hold
ask-
these up for you when
Did I get it right, the story of the arch? And were you here when I was...
I didn't hear it. Sorry. What did you say?
Well, I said that Charles McKim married Julia Appleton, and she tragically died, and he has engraved 3 pieces on the arch to sort of honor her. Is that right?
I believe that is right. I would have to double check, but I was going
So
to mention
lucky.
that you need to look at it, and I know they've done some zoom-in shots of the beautiful carvings on it, and
Mm-hmm.
that is part of the original construction of the building that McKim did
That
put
arch.
in. That beautiful carved arch.
Yes.
Along with the Tiffany window. So,
Yeah, Tiffany Window's amazing.
of course,
too.
being the Historical Society, we have all kinds of old pictures, old postcards, and so we've got these wonderful images. Here's a early 1900s image of the museum, and you can see it really hasn't changed
Not
much.
far
The
away
library.
from today.
Sorry, the library.
library.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
In fact, I can show you the original drawing that McKim presented,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and you can see it didn't change much.
No.
It really is going to his and stuck to it.
It still hasn't changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Which I'm glad about. I mean, yes, I'm a historian, not preservation. You know, let's be a
Person.
purist.
Yeah,
Keep it that
yeah,
way.
right.
It's beautiful, and if you look up McKim and Richardson, because he worked with the Richardson architecture firm, you'll see that he did some other libraries that have very similar motifs, the towers, the arches. Quincy in particular had one that looked very similar to this. So, but it was paid for by this man. And hopefully you got a good picture of his painting there up on the
TJ.
wall. TJ, yes. Thomas Jefferson Coolidge. Yes, he is a descendant of the Thomas Jefferson, the president.
He's a great grandson, I think. Is that right?
There's a couple of greats in there.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe
I have to
great.
count.
Right. Yeah.
But yes, that's
but
him.
a direct descendant.
Direct descendant.
Yeah.
And he, Coolidge Point is named after him because he bought it. And he built his summer home, and then his kids built a couple of series of summer homes. And there's still a descendant out there right now, Kitty Lastovica, and she's given her property to the Historic New England. And so they'll be keeping that place going.
That's beautiful.
The Coolidge.
That's gorgeous out there.
So, but Manchester was a summer home for Thomas Jefferson Coolidge,
yes,
right?
definitely.
Yeah. So this was his resort place.
This was his resort place. Well, he decided that the town needed, a library. For fun, he did do, I don't know if they knew this, but he donated the property for the Essex County Club.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
So yeah, that
So
was
he needed
farm
a
prop-
club and a library.
But yeah, well, he had purchased the farm, and a group of people decided they needed their own county club, and so he gave that property for that. So yeah, he was very much a benefactor for the town. But here, for the library, he decided he would pay for a library here for 3 purposes. And one is as a memorial. And I'm just showing you a bad picture, but I know Lisa got some good pictures of all the marble plaques
Yeah,
out
they're
in the hallway.
gorgeous.
If you look, there's over 20 names of people who died during the Civil War. Some in battle, some to disease, some in the prisons, some on the battleships. But this is a memorial to the Civil War veterans who were lost.
And that we've been talking about the marble.
Yep.
The marble itself that McKim chose for those plaques that list the Civil War veterans is very special.
I just heard the name. It's called Nubian marble, which I believe is because where the marble came from. But
Right. So it's from North Africa, and
Yep.
what's really amazing is it's filled with fossils. And if you look carefully, you can actually see them.
the colors.
The nautilus shell.
It's spectacular.
Yeah, it's beautiful. So
And most people don't look at them. You actually have to look carefully to read the names. And maybe that's on purpose.
You think so?
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised.
it isn't easy to read. I
It
agree
is-
with you.
It's
yeah.
not easy to read, so you really have to stop and look, and then you'll notice your little fossils. too.
Right,
Right.
right.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And you really do see them if you look carefully.
yeah, and McKim, I don't think, forgot much.
Yeah,
He did a good job.
Yeah.
So the library part, and here's an old black and white photo of the library section. And you can see that original screen.
Yeah, so this
there.
is the arch we were talking
Yeah,
about, and
the-
that's where
the
these
screen.
Hold this up for
engravings
David,
are.
too.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I know Lisa took some good close-up pictures, gorgeous carvings on it, go look at it. And,
And it's 800 years old originally, right? The original woodwork?
that I don't know. I
Isn't
have to
what
look
we
that
heard,
up.
We heard,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, from
Yeah.
Brittany.
I don't want to quote anything I don't know.
Okay, okay.
Good, David?
Okay, and
Yeah.
the third purpose of this building goes back to the Civil War again, a home for the GAR, the Grand Army of the Republic, the veterans of the Civil War. And here is a photograph, after the library was done, of those veterans, some of them still in their
Wow.
wearing their uniforms, in front of the library. And I believe it was this section that we're in right now that was their hall. As the veterans started dying off, eventually the GAR as a group kind of died out.
Yeah, ceased
and
to
so the
exist,
library
yeah.
could take over this room as well.
Interesting. And I'll show this for David. So this, I love these photos. And this is around 1900 or so.
I believe the date is on it. Yeah, it says about 1900.
Yeah. Very cool.
So.
And so, Beth, can you talk at all about just sort of what this library has meant to the town of Manchester over the years? Is it now just sort of the community and cultural hub, or
Well, it's definitely that.
yeah?
But it's
Has it
it's a
always
lot-
been that way?
Well, I think that was the purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, not only for the Civil War honoring, but to have a library. During that time, there were towns who were deciding that it was time to have a cultural center. You should have a public library. And it wasn't a new idea. I mean, Benjamin Franklin started the idea, over 100 years earlier, but not every town had public libraries. So
I
he
had-
decided we needed one.
I had read that the local lyceum had originally had a library,
Yes.
and then the elder brethren said to Thomas Jefferson Coolidge,
We need
a library.
I wouldn't
So
be
it was
surprised.
Their idea.
I give them credit. If it's,
Yeah.
it's a- I do know that the first library was in the Old Town House, which is basically where the fire department is now. So that's where the Lyceum had been set up. at one point.
Okay.
So
Beth, what's going on at the museum these days?
what's going on at the museum? Okay, well, we just finished redoing 2 rooms in the house. We were closed from Christmas until
Yeah.
last week. And 2 rooms, our old kitchen and the hallway off of it to the old front door were in pretty bad shape, and so they've been all fixed. The plaster's been repaired, all the painting's been redone, and there's gorgeous new historic reproduction paper in there. It looks
Oh,
wonderful. You need to come see it.
It's nice inside
Yeah.
there too.
And so now we're starting up our programming again. We did have a break for January because we were a mess during all that work. And yep, all our programs are up and running. Every month you heard Tom mention the lecture series.
Yes.
The entire 2020 lecture series is devoted to sequential history of the town's history. So yeah, next Thursday night is Mary Ellen Lampianca with Native Americans, wigwams on Jeffries Creek. Then
I think that's fascinating.
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
It's very
yeah,
fascinating.
and
And there has been,
It's very
there's
Lampianca
been
too.
things.
Yeah,
It's
oh, it's
very
definitely,
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, when we
I'm
had to
with her.
do Native Americans in this
Yeah.
area, I'm like, I know who I'm going to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then of course we're doing Manchester 101, an overview of the history
Which is
for
great.
everybody. Then Liz Breen, who you're probably familiar
Yes.
with, will be coming and speaking about slavery, which she's been researching for years on KPN. And yes, it was here. And not just slave owners, but actually slave traders. And so we'll be hearing the sad part, but a real part of our history. We don't hide our history. And then we'll finish the spring season off with the Master Mariners. And then we pick up again next September, and we will talk about the Gilded Age, all the mansions, and we will talk about the special landmark and special places of Manchester, how they got their names, how they came to be, and then we'll end off with World War I and World War II, the home front, what was happening here in Manchester during those
Oh,
wars.
that's
I love
interesting.
it. I'll be
Yeah.
tapping your shoulder a lot this year, Beth, because Beth
Please
actually
do.
helped me with the timeline Cape Ann for
I love
how
those.
Manchester by the Sea got its name, or
Yes.
even how Manchester got its name.
Yep.
But we also would love to do a show like this across the street.
Please
at the
come.
museum.
We'd
Yeah.
love it.
So let's plan that too.
Yes.
Okay, so if people want to learn more about the museum, how can they do that?
Website, all you have to do is Google Manchester Historical Museum, and that's us. Yes, there are lots of Manchester historicals, but you'll recognize us. It has the Trask House on the picture, and it's Manchester by the Sea. We do have a Facebook page too. You can Google that. And yeah, each month, like I said, the lectures are the third Thursdays. Third Saturdays are our children's programs that we do in combination with the library. This Saturday, we'll be at the museum, and we'll be looking at the quilts and the stitching work that was done. So that happens each month during the school year. And we always try to have something special too. We do have a big art show coming up in March. So,
Nice.
with all the local KPN artists showing their stuff.
Yeah.
In the Trask House.
And the trash.
Oh, great.
Well, in the hall in the back. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Well, I love chatting with you, Beth.
Great.
It's fun. I love learning about this stuff too. So hopefully we can talk to you sooner than later.
Yes, by all
Do another
means.
timeline as well. So,
Yeah.
okay, so thank you, Beth Wellen, from...
I can take off?
After you can. Yeah, you're free to go. From the Manchester Historical Museum, right across the street.
Yeah, let's go.
Go see her sometime. Yeah, thank you, Beth,
right,
so
thank you.
much. Yeah, awesome history here. Amazing stuff, too. It's just another, like, encyclopedia.
Are you ever
a
going to
walking
tell us?
encyclopedia set.
Are you going to tell us how Manchester got its name?
No, you have to
Okay,
watch
all
Timeline
right.
Cape Ann.
Oh, okay,
6020
okay.
Studios. It's
So,
out there.
Here we have a special friend
This
of
isn't
mine.
actually the guest, right?
No, that's not.
Yeah.
But she's coming soon. Pavlina. This is. Come sit down. This is Pavlina Gilson, the designer and owner of Preem Love.
Hi, Pavlina.
And-
Hi, Corey. Nice to meet
Corey.
you.
Nice to
Thanks for
meet
doing
you.
this.
So Pavlina,
Thank you for inviting me.
it's so nice to have you. Yeah. So I just saw Pavlina the other day because I visit her often, and my dress was designed and made, hand sewn by Pavlina.
Beautiful.
Pavlina lives in Manchester, and she has her shop is called Preem Love. Her studio is called Preem Love, Preemlov. So you are a local artist that we're featuring today. Yeah. So and you want to tell us about the coat that is right next to you?
So the coat, this is my signature piece. I designed it for my senior collection,
At Mass
Mass
Col-
Art, yes. and the inspiration is Czech medieval castle. I'm originally from the Czech Republic.
Oh, you're not from Manchester?
No, I'm not.
So why don't you back up a little bit and tell us where you're from, Pavlina, and your background in design?
So I grew up in the Czech Republic, and I moved to the States in '97. And I traveled a little bit, lived in Vail, did lots of skiing, and then I met my husband and moved to Manchester.
A Manchester resident his whole
Yes.
life.
Oh, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And then I went to Mass Art. And I guess the rest is history.
Well, so I think of your designs having a little bit of an Eastern European, I don't know, they're modern, and am I right to think
Yes.
that?
Yeah. I mean, lots of people say that they really can see that, that I have the European heritage, that
Yes.
they're a little bit different than other pieces here, or, that you can buy or you can see. So.
Right, definitely. So now tell us about the coat. So this is your award-winning piece also, right?
It was, yeah. So actually this piece is the second one I ever made. And the first one I made for my senior collection. And right after the runway show, my professor bought it. And I haven't seen it since.
Oh, yeah.
And it's been a little bit over. So this piece I made 10 years after. I really missed it. And I said, I have to just make it again. So I did, and actually it was good timing because I took part in Sea Arts, the wearable art show.
Yes.
And it was on the runway, and it won another award as the most architectural piece. And it is, because these pieces are all hand sewn.
So this is the chain
It looks like
stitch.
ashlar stone to me, but it's
Yes, that's true. Yes.
it's like the stone facade in the building here.
That's the idea behind it. So there actually are two pieces of different wool. I crochet stitch, and then I sew it on. So it has like a little bit different texture, different depth. And
So this is all hand stitched, that black line. Isn't
well,
that-
by machine, but with hand.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay. And then applied to,
Hand stitched
Got
by a
that
machine.
wrong.
That's fine.
Well, hands afterwards. It's
Someone's
not
gonna
a
turn it
machine.
on.
I said machine, do it. No.
but it was, you had to apply it to the fabric.
And it's
Right.
actually, you kind of have to measure, and so not really measure, because you do want it to look natural. You don't want it to look like it's really like machine made exactly the same. So
Right.
not every brick really looks the same.
Yeah.
So.
I was going to ask, where did the love of design come from? Like, when do you know growing up that this is...
I guess I always, like, my dad was a tailor. And so I kind of saw him sewing, and I guess it comes from him. And I still remember my grandma, she would sew a lot too. She would sew all her pieces. She wouldn't sell them, but that's what you would do in the old times. I guess I had it in my genes.
Yeah.
So, but I want to return to the fact that there is something, and I would like you to talk about it a little bit more about where your inspiration is coming from in your background, in that Czech history, in the European history, because I think your clothes are really unusual for this area. And it's part of it is that they're contemporary looking, but it's also that other element. And your fabrics are really interesting. That's,
yeah,
you know,
I love
they're-
fabrics.
Yeah.
So, well, what I like to do with my pieces is that, they are fun to wear, they're different, they stand out, but they're still comfortable. You have more different ways how you can wear them. And I always, not always, but I try to add in pieces like some of mine, not childhood, but, like some little parts from my past that kind of reminds me. I made once, I still make it, a skirt with buttons, and I just made it and never really thought about it. And I brought it back when I went to see my family, and my sister told me, wow, this is the skirt I used to wear when I was in my teens. And I said, well, I don't remember, but I guess it was kind of stuck in my head and it came up. I didn't know, like, I thought it was my original design and it's not. But I altered it a little bit, I guess. It wasn't exactly the same.
Yeah. Well, and I will add, so not only do you design the clothes, you make
I make
every
everything, yes.
single piece, yeah. And they are very reasonable, given that all that work. I want to put that plug in there. But I love them because I feel like they're kind of stylish, but they're so comfortable. I keep going back to Pavlina saying, I just want that same dress because I wear that dress all the time. It's like my pajamas. So can you just make the same thing in a different fabric?
Well, and they
right?
look different.
They
yeah.
do look different, yeah. Actually, I did branch out a little bit with this one because this
But
fabric
this is a nice one, yeah.
this and it has a little, people can't see it, but it's like bunched on one
Yeah,
side.
so it kind of
So
drapes nice. with
yes, exactly. I'm loving this
I'll
dress.
take your word for it.
I'll show everyone later. So, and how about where can people find you, Pavlina? If I know that you have a website. But
I have a website. They can call or email me and just make an appointment to see me in my studio.
So by appointment in your studio.
Yes, yeah. I don't have a regular opening hours.
Yeah.
And there are actually a couple local stores. They carrying my pieces. There's one in Rockport, Coastland Country.
Mm-hmm.
They started carrying my pieces last fall.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, very new. I did not know they found me. I did not know they existed.
Oh, interesting. Well, I'm still coming
but
to you.
It's a very beautiful store. So I'm very
Coast
happy.
and Country.
Coast and Country.
Great.
They're on Bearskin Neck.
Oh, great.
And Betsy Frost designs in Ipswich. She is a master art graduate too, and she does beautiful jewelry. So
Nice.
it's so she found me too, and
Right, nice.
we have more in common than I knew. So it was that's good. So
Yeah. Oh, nice. So online and by appointment, or at Betsy Frost, or
but if you really want to see, everything what I do and have more choices, the best thing just come to my studio.
right.
Because
And these coats, you have a variety of
Different
or
coats.
variations on this coat that are really beautiful.
Yes, so if you don't want to go all the way, because that's very dramatic piece, so I did make a little bit, I wouldn't say toned down version, but more coats that you could wear it every day. Because
Yeah.
this is, my professor, she would tell me wherever she wears it and goes to a restaurant and there's a waiting time, they never ask for her name. They only write down the lady in the great coat.
I can see that. I can see that. And this is your dress also, right?
This is my dress. This is one of my newer designs.
Yeah, I love this. It has like a pull.
It has a pull, so it's kind of a new take on a wrap dress.
Wonderful.
That's not V, but symmetrical. And
Yes.
I like asymmetry.
Yeah, it looks. Yeah, you do like asymmetry. I know that. I know that. Well,
Beautiful, Pavlina.
right.
Thank
So
you.
you're going to check it out for Valentine's Day?
I
It's a
think
little
the next time
Little late.
Pavlina's on, I think we'll both be in Pavlina's dresses. How's that?
Menswear. Oh.
You haven't done menswear.
Yeah.
I did one for my school project.
It's hard. I know.
And that's it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming by,
thank you for
Pavlina.
having me.
Really
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks.
it.
We really
Yeah.
do. It was great meeting you.
Nice meeting you.
Yeah.
And thanks for all the work you do.
Oh, thank you.
Pavlina Gilson. And you can find her at preemlove.com, right? PRIEMLOV.com.
Right. Right.
Perfect.
Right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And your friend, the head of horseman. Very
I
cool.
do love that coat. I'm actually a little chilly, and I was looking at it thinking, if I could just put
You
it
can throw that
on.
one. I could throw that one on if
Right?
you want to.
Yeah.
The Michelin Man coat over there. If you want that over your shoulders.
No, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm
All right.
okay.
So our next guest, we've gotten to know Mike a little bit over the last year or so. Really cool stuff. We're going to talk about a couple different subjects with him. Come on in, Mike. This is Mike Chapman. He is with the Open Space and Recreation Committee here in Manchester by the Sea. And then he also does something else too that we're going to get into in just a little bit. Thanks for joining us, Mike.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, for those who don't know, what is the Open Space and Rec Committee here?
Yeah, it's a good question. We've been a committee for about 7 years, and we're a composite committee of other groups within town. So we comprise members of the Conservation Commission, Manchester Essex Conservation Trust, the Stream Team, and what our charter is to make sure that we coordinate with the other groups and make sure that we promote the usage of open space, promote the fact that we want to try to protect the watershed, protect the various animals that live in the open spaces. And it's really just to make sure that people know what's available in town and how they can utilize it.
And do you want to talk about the Powder House Hill?
A
and all that
specific
now,
one?
too?
Yeah,
sure.
a specific project that we're working on is at Powder House Hill here in Manchester. So that's bounded by School Street, Pine Street, Pleasant Street, and also Elm Street. 53 acres here right in the middle of town. The area started about 1812 with the building of the Powder House.
What is a powder house?
So it's to store gunpowder for the muskets and the cannons during the War of 1812. And it's still there. It's restored, so you can still go up and see it.
Is it up
Yeah.
in the center of the property?
It's right off of Elm Street, so it's an easy climb. And I think most people know about the area from that because it's very easy to get up there.
Our
But they
next
don't
job.
You
really
can hike in your
Yeah.
mattress.
but they don't really know the rest of the area.
Yeah.
And the reason that we started the project to organize the trails into trail loops and put in new signage is that I had two friends that grew up in town and they wanted to go from School Street to Pine Street to catch the 4th of July parade, got all turned around and came out on Elm Street. And these are guys that lived here forever. So there was a need to try and get the signage done and to get the trail loops in place.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about more public usage, is this
Yes.
hiking and biking or what exactly?
It's really anything. Hiking and biking in the open spaces. We take a look at the usages of the waterfront area. By and Pike is doing an awesome job on that, so we really don't have much to do
harbor
with it.
master here,
The
yeah.
harbor master, right. But a lot of it is maintenance of areas. We put in a new bridge at Dexter Pond. The old one was a set of railroad ties that had just rotted away, and we had a fellow, Ken King, a volunteer in town, who developed and then helped us build that new bridge there. So those are the types of things we've done.
These really reflect well on a town. You know, when I've traveled a little bit, and when you arrive in a place and the trails are well marked and the bridges work,
Yeah.
it really feels like people care in these places.
I think you're right. And I think one of the key things for us in the Open Space and Rec Committee is the CPC, right? The Community Preservation Committee, because they have provided us with the funds to be able to do the project at Powder House Hill and at Dexter Pond. And without that group, we really wouldn't be able to do much work.
So Mike, why is this so important to you?
Well, I think it's what makes Manchester really special. The areas that people can enjoy outside of the downtown area, opportunities to get out and to interact with nature. When you're in some of these open spaces, you could be up in Vermont or in New Hampshire somewhere, and it's just amazing that all those spaces are right here within a couple-minute walk. So it really makes Manchester special.
Do you have any idea how much open space Manchester actually has?
I don't. I'm going to have to check. I know that we have at Powder House Hill, as I said, it's about 50 acres. And there are other areas around. Some of them are protected by the Conservation Commission, some are not, some are still privately owned. But there are large swaths of open space around the town. Yeah.
I apologize for asking you that again. I remember that was a question mark, but
And I failed to look it up.
no, that's okay. That's okay. But I do know that it seems as if Manchester has a lot of open space, and when
Yeah.
you drive down 128, it's all open space
It's all
on
there.
either side.
It's all there
yeah.
on either side, yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is open space for hiking and biking, but it's also important for things like the watershed area. And that's one of the special things here in Manchester. When we take a look at the other towns during the summer, they have water restrictions and watering restrictions. We rarely have it here, and it's because we have good protection of the watershed area.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's what was I going to ask about? Something about Powder House specifically, because I actually haven't been up there in daylight in a long time. So I gotta
That's so
So
Corey.
that sounds like a good story.
Just before you went to the library,
Maybe
you
we'll
stopped.
skip that story. Yeah. But the other thing that you're also a part of too is this Formula Hybrid racing.
Yes.
Now, you work at Dartmouth.
I work at Dartmouth College, 2 days a week. I'm a Dartmouth and a Thayer School of Engineering grad. I've worked at the Formula Hybrid competition since it started about 15 years ago. And it started when the Dartmouth students took a car to a college competition, and the car was banned because it was a little too competitive. So the students came back, and instead of redesigning the car, they designed their own competition. And that was 15 years ago. So every year, we invite students from throughout the world to come build a hybrid or battery electric vehicle. This year, we have US, Canada, and India represented. Last week in April, they bring the cars up to the NASCAR track, the New Hampshire Motor Speedway up in Loudon, New Hampshire. We're there in the infield where all the pros are. So we run from Monday through Thursday. Run those cars through 10 different types of events and then crown the winners after that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So do any of these ideas head back to Detroit?
They absolutely do, because we know our students have ended up at Ford, GM, Fiat Chrysler, Tesla, SpaceX, Boeing. So
Wow,
we
that's
know
impressive.
we know they're working out there.
Yeah,
No kidding.
Yeah.
that's great.
What are they being judged on? And they're winning awards for what? Performance and
Performance is one, so things like acceleration test, autocross, where they try and weave their way through a set of cones in a certain amount of time. Endurance is the big event, so they have to be able to run 44 kilometers on the road racing course. So it's hills and it's curves with a set amount of energy. So they have to make sure that they can conserve it. And then we have things like the static events. We have a design event where judges take a look at the design, the engineering design of the car. And then project management. We have a project management portion of it. So they need to plan the project, do a mid-course correction, and then report on it when they get to the track.
how many students are on a particular team? Is it open-ended?
It's usually about 15, but we go anywhere from 4 to 30 or 40. So during the week, we normally have, this year we have 18 teams. So that's between 200 and 300 students. We bring in about 100 volunteers from throughout New England to help us run the event. Yeah, and there are 2 of us that run this thing.
Right. And this event is open to the public out loud?
Open to the public, yep. Don't have to, there's no money that you have to pay to get in. So
Right.
yeah, if you want to come up and see.
And one of those dates again?
It starts April 27th, ends on April 30th.
Awesome.
And on the 28th, we have a VIP reception. So Dean Alexis Abramson from Thayer School will be up there. She was just named the dean in July. And then she'll also be there on Wednesday to meet with the students.
If
So-
people want to know more about this or somehow get involved, how can they do that?
Yeah, so website is formula-hybrid.org.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Great.
So, and lastly, I want to go back to
Yes.
the Open Space and Rec Committee. So, are most of your efforts geared towards like public policy, or is it fundraising, or just awareness, or?
It's awareness and really getting the public involved. And because we're a composite group, the upside is we have people that know what's going on in all the other committees. So we coordinate with everybody. The downside is everybody's busy, so it's tough to get everybody together and to get things done. Although the folks on our committee and other volunteers have spent a tremendous amount of time. So that's one of the things that I'll push for, is that if anyone wants to volunteer for Open Space and Rec or one of the other committees, please feel free.
And how would they
Yeah.
do that, Mike? Is it?
So it's through Town Hall.
Okay.
So talk to the folks at Town Hall and they can set you up.
Perfect.
The other thing I did want to mention that
Sure.
I forgot is that we have an event coming up on Sunday, March 15th. And we're going to have Rick Roth here at the library.
Cape Ann Vernal Pond team.
Cape
yeah.
Ann Vernal Pond team.
Rick Roth.
Rick Roth,
yeah.
sorry. Cape Ann Vernal Pond team. So there'll be a presentation here, and then afterwards, folks will walk up to the Vernal Pond, which is part of the Powder House Hill Reservation, and then he'll be able to describe what's going on up there.
Very cool.
And that connects with the Manchester Read program that
Yes.
Sarah Collins was talking about, because that's part of that. Everyone is reading the Judge book.
Yes.
And people
Yep.
are dedicated to getting outside. right?
Exactly.
And also, I want to make that point that above us, right, is the painting that was done from Powder House Hill
Yep.
of the town of Rockport. Yeah. So
Town of
hopefully-
Manchester, I hope.
Manchester.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
You can almost see Rockport from that point. But it is one of those things, when we talk about Powder House Hill, we talk about hiking, we talk about the trails, but when you stand at the Powder House, You can look out, you look out over the harbor, you're on the same level as the Congregational Church steeple. It's an amazing view.
A beautiful spot.
Well, it's a beautiful painting,
Yeah.
and that's as far as I've gotten. So I'll get the name of the town right
It's
next
part of your
time.
weekend
great.
planner now. Now we know what we're up to.
Right,
Yep.
So,
right,
awesome.
right.
All right, Mike.
Great.
Thanks so
All
much for
right.
your time.
Thank
Thanks
you.
so
very
much.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
We'll visit again with you soon sometime
Okay.
and see
Hope
what's
so.
going on. Yeah, very cool. Mike Chapman of the Open Space and Rec Committee here in Manchester, and also the great story about the Formula Hybrid.
It's
race as
fascinating,
well.
really
you can do that at
fascinating.
Formula-hybrid.org.
I bet there's some auto scouts that go to that race, right?
Yeah,
From,
absolutely.
You know, either Boeing or Ford who are showing up there, right, to see what's going on with these young kids.
You saw where they're getting placed nowadays and where they're working, you know?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, so that's a wrap, Heather. We're going to bring back Chris and Joe momentarily, but we want to thank today's guests, right? Sarah Collins, the Executive Director here at the library, Erica Brown of the Manchester Cricket, Beth Welland of the Manchester Historical Museum, Tom Kehoe from the 375th Anniversary Committee, Mike Chapman from the Open Space and Rec Committee, and Pavlina Gilson of Creedmoor, the designer right here in town.
And we also want to thank our crew, Director Becky Tober, Technical Director Matt McMakin, Floor Director Lisa Smith, Production Assistant Alana Horn, and Camera David Lufkin.
Yeah, and we'll be with you again on 2 weeks' time, Friday, February 28th at the Rocky Neck Cultural Center, and I think we're going to have 5 or 6 artists actually creating art around us for the entire show, so that should be pretty interesting too.
Yeah.
So thanks again, everyone. We'll see you guys next time. Once again, Chris Lingathianos and Joe Wilkins, thank you guys for both being here today too.
Thanks for having us.
And take us away.
All right, this is a song called Michigan.
Clouds move over Pontiac skies. Their silent thunder matches mine. And I know without you.
Chris plus Joe. Makes Chris and Joe. Hey, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
We'll have you back on again. Absolutely, man.
Thanks for
for your
having
time.
us.
All right. We'll see you next time, folks. So now we're here.